finally time we talk about something we don't talk about a lot on this channel. Scams. This one doesn't involve me though, or anyone that I know, but someone that I love. Someone who is a hero on the internet. Theo Von. Have you heard of him? You probably have. I like Theo Von a lot and have for a very long time.
Hey, I've always wanted to make love to a blind woman. Is this something you'd be interested in? You know?
Yeah. Theo Von, you may have heard of him, recently brought a fraud and a scam to light on a large scale. I had already heard about this because I'm into the podcast scene. I like Tom Segura. I like Your Mom's House. I like Joe Rogan. So I heard about this thing a couple weeks ago, and I figured we could turn it into a video, a story that you guys might be interested in yourselves.
Our podcast was defrauded. We were stolen from. We were taken advantage of. A lot of ways to say it. The company that did it is Kast Media, and the man that did it is Colin Thompson.
And there's a lot of levels to it, and it's bad, and it's gonna get way bigger. This guy, he seems like an alright guy. He looks nice. I can't really tell if he has a negative or positive canthal tilt, and that's how I judge people now. That with and buccal fat, that's how I judge people now. Theo was a part of a larger group that was stolen from by Kast Media. Chances are pretty high you are aware of another creator, if you don't know who Theo is, who was stolen from by this company. This company was pretty damn big, and up to $4 million was defrauded, according to Theo.
There's up to $4 million that I know of that people were taking advantage of. We're in the 6 figures. I know of podcasts that are in the 7 figures.
He says in the video that he had a deal with the company where everything was kind of going good. They were reading ads. They were selling out things for a year in advance, which is pretty standard in the space. The whole shebang, all right? But over time, payments became less and less to the podcast crews, and it's a business. You have employees. You have to make payroll.
We had a deal with this company, right? And it was started off good, and then it started to get where we were getting less of our payments. It got to be where we were getting paid less of the payment we were owed. And they sell all the ads a year in advance, so you're kind of stuck into the year, right?
Theo was able to fortunately make a deal to cut ties completely since Kast breached their contract, over non-payment. But then Colin Thompson comes along with Podcast One, or Live One, where they try to get him on a call with this guy, Rob Ellen, and tell him that if he comes to the new network, Podcast One, they'll pay him what they're owed in stock share. Oh my God.
But the stock hasn't gone public, so they're trying to, it felt like to me, they're trying to leverage our podcast and other podcasts to then make their stock do well. And then if that happens, then we'll get a share of our money, right? Like, it just, the whole thing to me felt really seedy.
Let's hypothetically say my name is Cornball Holson, okay? I steal your money, and then I say, okay, well, now I can't pay you back the money because I embezzled it, and it's, it's mine now. It's my assets, and you can't seize my assets. But how about instead of us paying you what you're owed, you invest in my new company, and we'll pay, and you speak positively about it, so you can basically, make the price go up, and then we'll pay you in stock of that company, so then you can rug pull and be a part of a greater, more evil scam that affects more people. That's how I'm interpreting what that is. That seems crazy. Theo asked if Colin Thompson was going to be a part of this deal with Podcast One because he's a crook and he didn't want to be involved. And they told Theo that he did a good job and he would continue being a part of the team.
I know some of this is a lot of insider baseball, man, but to me, it was just it felt real dirty, and it felt like just no respect for podcasting, no respect for the work that we had done.
To me, this seems disgusting and horrible and so bad, and I'm very glad that Theo had the cojones to make a video about it, because his voice matters, and a lot of people love this guy, and he does good. He just does good. He doesn't make shit content. He doesn't talk shit. He's just a good guy who doesn't deserve to have something like this happen to him. Then someone reached out to Theo on Twitter and said, why even give Colin the exposure though? And Theo said, so it doesn't happen to other people, honestly. This does more negatively than like a lawsuit or getting your money back. This is a better form of payment than anything. Having the truth be told and having people actually understand what's going on and know that you were taken advantage of, I'd say that's better than a judgment or a lawsuit, especially if you're not going to get your money back, which honestly, that doesn't seem like what's going to happen.
But you fucked with the wrong rat, homie. I have a voice. And a lot of other people are forced into these bad deals because they're afraid to speak up. They're afraid to speak up, man. And that's not what our show is about. I just want you guys to know that this is the man. We put his picture up on the thing, on the YouTube.
So who exactly is Colin Thompson and also Kast Media? This dude is kind of a cartoonish villain behind this entire big alleged fraud scam thing, and also just general poor treatment of talent that are signed with them. By the way, the only reason that there's revenue anyways for any of these management companies is because there is talent. They are not talent. They are not the ones that people care about. They're the ones who are good at manipulating brands into giving them more money. Like, that's not awesome. That's an L. Colin is the CEO and founder of Kast Media, and this guy fucking loves podcasts. He's your average white young adult. I mean, we love podcasts. We really do. By the way, I think I have a podcast. I don't know if you guys knew that, but good luck finding it. My dude also loves partnering with podcasts.
I run a digital media agency called Kast Media, and we really focus on podcasting. And we have clients that range from...
By the way, more accurately, he doesn't like podcasts as much as he likes making money off the backs of podcasts and then cutting them out. So this man is being trashed online, as you can imagine. Anytime Theo Von makes a video taking a stand against someone saying that they stole from him, defrauded him, you can imagine there's probably going to be a big negative backlash on the internet. Colin Thompson is a fraud and a thief that fucked with the wrong guy, Theo Von. He allegedly stole millions of dollars from multiple podcasters and comedians through ad revenue deals where he pocketed a percentage that wasn't agreed upon. True, based, and red-pilled. Now, if that's true, that's embezzlement. That's a crime, federal crime. Oh, and if the contracts are signed over state lines, oh, it makes it so much worse. Anyways, I know a lot about this stuff. Colin recently has also gone private on Twitter. If you were wondering, like, how to follow him, if you really want to get a feel of what this guy's thinking and saying on a daily basis. Poor little guy couldn't take the backlash after being exposed, and also just being terrible to people that he was responsible for, and the literal reasons for any of his success. What I will say is what I said earlier, in that Colin and his team at Kast were pretty good at matching sponsors with shows. It's a pretty successful business. If they're missing 4 million, you can only assume that there was a lot more that was made, by connecting brands with these shows, because that is a difficult part of this game, is being able to get into contact with brands, to be able to keep shit on air, because it does take a team to run a long-form podcast. Yeah, Kast Media dope as fuck when it comes to connecting talent with brands, which is a difficult thing to do. Yeah, but on the flip side, it didn't end that well. It's pretty despicable, honestly. It's crazy. I mean, the voices that they are using to make money and sell the products are the ones that they're taking advantage of and then just stealing the money from. Check out the About Us to Kast Media. Kast Media launched in 2016 as a production company for the creation of premium podcast content. Kast has grown to become a leader in the creation and representation of premium quality shows, both audio and video. The only good podcast y'all got is fucking Theo Von. Okay, come on. Another victim of Colin and Kast Media was Logan Paul, known scammer and extraordinaire of being a piece of shit. He got a taste of his own medicine a few years ago when he worked with Kast for the production of his stellar long-form content. Dude's a genius. This was when Logan had his old set for Impulsive. I think it was at his house. I really don't know, but they had audio engineers that worked for Logan, and then Logan fired them. In this clip, you can see it's kind of interesting.
Everyone's getting fired. Yeah, the guys, the engineers running our soundboard are not our typical engineers. I fired Kast Media. I fired them today.
Logan decided to fire the Kast team after they made a bunch of mistakes, fucked up audio on an entire episode, and then refused to come to work on Columbus Day. That's awesome. Columbus Day, my favorite holiday to celebrate and take off work for. Yeah! Hassan also got fucking scammed, guys. Everyone's favorite socialist, very rich, wealthy, successful, charismatic socialist with a lot of riz.
It got to be where we were getting paid less of the payment we were owed. And they sell all the ads a year in advance.
Yeah, for us, like, our biggest problem is, between Will and I, our biggest problem was that, like, we just didn't give a shit. Because, like, I didn't care about the podcast as, like, a revenue stream. But for Theo Von, this is a huge revenue stream for him, right?
He goes on to relate to his experience with Kast and getting fucked over and losing a bunch of money. They're pieces of shit. People don't deserve to be taken advantage of like this. Also, Hassan, it's funny, he didn't even seem to know how bad he got fucked over by Kast, because like he didn't really use his podcast Fear and Malding as a revenue stream. He didn't even really know what they were doing or anything. That's baller. That's the proper way to run a business.
So like, that's why we definitely got fucked over as well. But like, I was even completely oblivious to it. I did not give a shit about making money off the podcast. I only cared about just like making a podcast.
Hassan was even told by Kast that over a course of a year working together, they only made $6 grand and they only got paid at the end of their year-long contract despite doing ad reads every single episode. What? That's insane. No way. 6 grand? That is like 5% of what you should make per month with a podcast that is as relevant as Fear and Malding. That's crazy. I could never imagine signing a contract that says that. My favorite podcaster, by the way, Brendan Schwab, also was fucked over by Kast Media. On his podcast, The Fighter and the Kid, they talked about their experience on one of the most recent episodes of the Fighter and the Kid podcast, which is hosted by Brendan Schwab and Bryant Callen.
We spoke with CoffeeZilla, Steven, who I'm a big fan of, and obviously Theo Von announced on his YouTube channel what exactly some of the issues we've been having as far as the podcast game goes.
Yeah.
Then both of these old men talk about how nobody really cares about the numbers. They care more about the fact that they've been just screwed over, which I agree with completely. The money doesn't really matter. If someone's not getting paid, that matters. If someone's getting fucked over as a result of a scam, that's bad. You're stealing money from someone directly who like relies on this. But on top of that, people really just care about getting fucked over more than anything. They also say that they've been with Kast Media for 4 fucking years, dude. What? That's a long relationship in this space, I feel like.
Our advertising agent was Kast Media.
We've had several before that.
But in the past 4 years or so,
3 to 4 years, probably 4.
More than that, 4 years. A little over 4.
And they worked with Colin for a long time, and they worked across various podcasts with him. Brennan then goes on to say that out of all the people who didn't receive money, no one was screwed over as badly as he was.
As the story goes on, and you guys are familiar with, I'm sure other podcasts said they didn't receive money, and obviously Theo didn't receive money. No one got more screwed over than I did.
Not even
because it crosses a lot of other shows, not just one.
Probably because you worked with them for fucking 4 years and put all your trust. I don't know. I feel bad they got taken advantage of by this piece of shit company, but that is, I love Brendan. They then revealed the number that Kast Media and Colin owe to the Fighter and the Kid podcast. It's almost 500 grand, $476,000. That is so much money. And across all shows, they're owed about $1.5 to $1.6 million.
That Fighter and the Kid was owed somewhere around $476,000. Then I find out that Thick Boy Productions overall is owed, and this is the number that was floated from our accountants before they'd done a real investigation, around $1.5, $1.6 million. I don't know if you guys, if that doesn't seem like a lot of money to you guys, that's a lot of money.
Oh my God, that is so crazy, just of unpaid money that I assume doesn't exist and will never be paid. On top of Brendan Schwab and Bryant Calhoun, Jason Ellis and Tony Hawk were also victimized by Kast Media. Jason Ellis posted an Instagram video about the whole big thing.
Those guys did a terrible job with the Jason Ellis show and with Hawk vs. Wolf, to the point where we tried to get out of the deal, and we had a 1-year deal with Hawk vs. Wolf, and then when I said there was a meeting to negotiate a 2nd year, and I was like, when is this meeting going to happen? And they were like, yeah, we'll get right on that. And then the next week, I was like, when's this meeting going to happen? They're like, oh, man, you missed the deadline. So you have automatically re-signed for Hawk vs. Wolf for a 2nd year. And I was like, that seems mean. You know, like, that seems a bit pushy. But okay, I don't really care. I don't know about podcasting. Maybe that's what they do.
That is classic YouTube MC and scammery right there. That's fucking machinima to a T. It's crazy how all this stuff just happens. Like, podcasts are like a newer kind of thing. Not really, they're pretty old, but them being very popular and like a primary form of media, that's pretty new. When YouTube in general was blowing up and becoming one of those things, the same shit happened. The same exact things, just in 2008 and 9 and 10 instead of 2023. Star date. What assholes though? You can't do that. That's illegal. Get a lawyer. Then Colin Thompson apparently accused Tony of slander, even though Tony had been professional. Dude, Tony seems like such a nice guy, just in general. How could you accuse Tony Hawk of slander, you fucker? I love him.
We went through a lot to get out of that. At one point, he threw slander and some other stuff at Tony.
Apparently also at the end of their second contract, Kast Media fired them, saying that Tony was impossible to work with. And it's also funny, since they fired him, how come their podcast is still on your website, bro? If they're impossible to work with, why are you still using their brand to elevate yours, huh? Then Jason goes on to say he found out from a person named Shane that Colin had gone bankrupt, and that's probably why he stole all this money, embezzled all these funds, defrauded all these creators and people that actually have talent to start his new business. He also wanted to bring Jason and Tony back on after firing them for being impossible to work with and then refusing to pay them. Huh? What the fuck? The point is, this happened to a lot of people that are really entertaining with gigantic audiences who didn't deserve any of this stuff. So, you know, what's Podcast One though? Why the fuck is that a new thing? Why did they want to get rid of their shares to pay these people back? Well, Podcast One went ahead and launched, and the stock fell 40% from $8 a share to $4.39 a share at the time of recording this video, and I assume it's going to continue to fall more. Hopefully this video has an impact on that. Anything that Colin works with, in my opinion, is something as a creator you should stay very, very far away from, given this burden of proof that this man is shady and these business practices are bad. Don't work with these people. If you're starting a podcast, be careful. Do it yourself if you can. Now, obviously, Podcast One tried to kind of back themselves out of the corner, and Rob Ellen stated that they wouldn't be hiring Colin anymore because he was just awful, and they wanted to help the people that were harmed by the fiasco. But I think it's too late to take the high road, dude. I think it's too late to take the high road. I'll join Podcast One and start a podcast that will probably be pretty popular if the first person I interview is Colin Thompson. Podcast One, if you're listening to this, and I will take payment in your stock as well, if that's possible too. Like 100% of the stock. I want to become the owner, and then let me interview Colin. I also think it's hilarious that if you go to Podcast One's website, you can see what people are saying.
Fortune said, Podcast One is building a podcasting empire. Adweek said, the splendors of the Podcast One network continue to amaze and expand. The Wrap said, Podcast One is the leader in advertiser-supported podcasts.
Then Oompaville said, Colin Thompson seems like kind of a piece of shit.
Remember, you look like the yellow M&M today. Yeah, I kind of do. What are you? What? Why did you know that? Why are you talking about that? I don't look anything like this guy.